I did a stream earlier today, which was usually my Friday lunch talk live,
Oh,
where
nice.
I kind of take it's a Friday. You take a couple of maybe two or three topics, you chop them up in under a half an hour, and you go. And
Right.
I try to do it. I'm going to try and do it every week, where
Nice.
30 minutes or less. It's. But I'm wondering, do I still do this? I'm doing it 12 p.m. Eastern time, but Pacific time, that's 9 a.m. They're
Right.
just starting their day. But the
Right.
thing is about this live streaming stuff, it's whatever time or day at any given moment.
Right.
Tony D, what's going on, bro? How you doing? Big shout out to Tony D. Tony D joined for the close of today's Lunch Talk Live. So I really did not want to say too much on the Derek Chauvin trial because we have just completed the first week. But I'm going to say I don't honestly see how the prosecution can lose after this testimony
Right.
unless the disdain for Black life is so strong. And I'm sorry, someone had just hit me up on the phone
I'm
while
in
I
the
was
Haps
doing.
app too. I kind of like being in the app while I'm talking to you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Um, yeah, it's you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about a lot of things,
Yeah.
but it says a lot about the people that you speak with, the people that you work with when you see issues like this. I know you
Yeah.
want to talk about the Derek Chauvin trial. I personally do not.
Uh,
So I will decrease and allow you to increase.
all right. Well, this is my take on this whole thing. One, it seems like they're just running through the paces, right? It seems very pro forma. It seems like everybody watched something dark, right? And you have like, remember what I told you the last time I was on your show, how I realized that lawyers are the that's the superpower, right? Whether you're not born with, you can't be a mutant, but like that's the cosmic power, and you either use it for good or evil, right? So you saw this superhero lawyer using his power, right, to make, well, they're saying that George Floyd was high. Okay, fine. You know, I think the question becomes, as a former police officer now, the question becomes, when can't the cops kill you, right? So I get that the cops can shoot at you if you have a gun, whether you point it at them or you brandish it, which means like you whip it out of your waistband. It's like, hey, I got this thing, right? And you're not actually pointing it at anybody. You're just kind of dangling. You're brandishing this weapon. You can be shot for that, right? You can definitely be shot for firing it around into the air, right? What? I mean, this guy had no gun. He wasn't resisting. Obviously, he didn't want to go to jail. Everybody protests going to jail. So if you can kill people who are protesting going to jail, who are high and not resisting, that means all these like money drugs, like cocaine, that like people do in clubs, right? If I ran across you and you were in law school and I found cocaine on you and you had some because I knew it was on your nose. And it's a club thing. You're a white kid from, you know, I'm not going to say the middle of the country, but let's say you're a white kid from New York, anywhere in the five boroughs or Yonkers, Orange County, Suffolk County, any of these places. You're going to protest too. I don't see I don't see this trial as illuminative. Like it. I don't see. I think they said it's going to take 3 weeks. I don't see how. Right. I think this is just one of those things that I remember. Look, I remember watching the O.J. Simpson case. Right. I lived in the Bronx with my ex-girlfriend, Catherine, at the time, and I had duty that day, that night, and no, I had duty the next day. I was off that day, that night, and I was just sitting there. It was, I want to say it was Friday, because it was in the afternoon and she wasn't in the house, and she was a school teacher. So I remember sitting there watching it by myself, right, and thinking, "There's no way." I was completely, totally surprised by the verdict, but you still had to listen to what people were saying in that trial to either get him off the hook for it or pin him good to the wall on it. And this doesn't seem like any of that. This all seemed like, yeah, we knew it was bad when he was doing it, and we all said so. Now, let's get the professionals in here. Yeah, we didn't teach him that. I ain't never seen that before. Okay, well, let's get the 911 operator in here. Oh, I thought he was dead. I never heard such a thing. All right, so it all seems very. We're all in agreement that this was an amazingly, excuse my language, but thing to do to a person, and you did it in broad daylight, and you did it with such arrogance and just willful disdain for what the public who were watching you do it thought about it. I don't see how anybody that I've seen in this trial, I've seen nobody go, yeah, but right, and his lawyer's trying to go, well, he was high. He asked the MMA guy, he was like, well, high people, right? But you sit here thinking about the tape, and he wasn't. It's not an MMA question. He wasn't hitting you back. You know what I mean? He wasn't resisting, other than verbal kind of like, "Oh man, don't lock me up." They even showed you when they were trying to put him in the car, and he came out the other side. They said, all of it just seems weird, and all the things that they're trying to hang on it as, I don't want to say good police work. Nobody's calling it good police work, but as how business is done doesn't seem to engage with the trial. I think everybody thinks that this is bad, and they're not even curious about the trial. I think people are going to be curious about the verdict. So when the verdict comes on, I will retune in. But for now, I don't know anybody who's like, "Ooh, did you see that trial today?" It's just kind of like, yeah, there's a trial going on. It's like,
well, I if I could just chime in,
yeah.
There's an end product. The end product is,
and I think people are interested in the end product.
This person is no longer here, and we were able to watch well over 9 minutes of the reason why he's no longer here.
Right.
So I think right now, and why I'm kind of refraining from this is like, I want to see this thing run its course. I want to see, so the prosecution, is running. It's going through this motion. Then the defense is going to come up, and so, and Tony D, we're with you. We're waiting on the verdict. Due process is understood, but totally agree with you. I just want to see how this is going to I'm
not disagreeing with Tony.
No, it's okay.
I just think it's not engaging. Is essentially what I'm saying. All these other trials that you hear, the Casey Anthony case, where did that girl do that to her child? I can't believe it. It was engaging. Like, you tuned in to court TV to see who would say what. That's why it's popular, right? It's why America's Most Wanted was popular, right? They're not going, true shoplifter, a blue lighter. Here he is on security. You'd be like, ugh, what is this nonsense? It has to give you some, I guess, human, just gritty, like interaction, right? To capture your eye, because to the normal person, you or I, you hear this and you're like, who would do this to their mother, daughter, son, brother, wife, child, relative, co-worker, like that, like for instance, one that's not murderous. That whole Bernie, what's his name? Bernie, who convinced all those people to give him money?
Bernie Madoff.
Bernie Madoff. And when I heard that, I was like, how much money did he have?
Yeah.
How did he keep this up and floating? I was just stunned to hear it. So when the trial came out, I tried to watch that, but between you and the wallpaper, it was super over my head. But this is different, right? There's no, I have yet to hear engaging anything from the lawyers in this thing. So I'm just kind of like, all right, I gotta see what the case plays out, because it has yet to be surprising where you have a good reason why, a compelling reason why any of this went down the way it did. Whether he was high or not, whether he was drunk or not, whether Chauvin was having a bad day or not, whether he was trained that way or not, whether the counterfeit bill was counterfeit or not. It all comes down to none of that should have led to what it led to.
There's no one. So, with you watching this trial, there's no subject matter expert that you've come across as a witness.
They said, man, Chauvin should have been out that day. He'd been requesting.
Hold on.
Crazy. That's one thing, but that's saying he was fine and normal.
But hold on. So there's no one that's been a witness so far that was talking or providing any type of information that you didn't understand.
Right.
Okay.
I think it's all been going over since this happened.
Okay.
Right. So there's nothing new. There's nothing the prosecutor can tell you that
you don't already know.
Right. There's nothing that the defense. The only interesting thing that can happen here is the defense has to come up with some interesting thing, and they haven't. They haven't.
Well, I mean, and without me being on the defense team, the defense team is going to tell you George Floyd killed himself, or his drug use killed himself.
Right, but we all see the video.
Right, we all see the video.
So he didn't. Even the point is, people will say, look, if they say he was exerting himself and then he died, and the coroner said his heart exploded because he had drugs in it, we would all hate that because we heard it 1,000 times. That's more plausible than, well, he was just high and I stepped on his neck, right? Because I can smoke a ton of joints. The most that you will get out of me is sleepiness. The most you'll get out of most people is sleepiness, right? It's not gonna. I mean, and he didn't have marijuana in his system. What did he have? I forgot what he had. But
amphetamines. Amphetamines.
Yeah, right. It was like
pills.
Right. So even if it wasn't something that is notorious, would like put you to sleep, it's all still on camera. And you could say if he had fought you and the guy said, yeah, he had amphetamines in his system, we'd all go, oh, well, there it is. But it doesn't matter what he had in his system if he didn't resist you. He could have had aspirin in his system, right? So it doesn't matter if it's cocaine or heroin or marijuana, PCP, LSD. If the person isn't fighting you and it's on camera that you do what you did, and they offer up the only resistance they offer up to you is verbal. Come on, man, stop, leave me alone. That I don't see how that gets you out of the position that you're in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, Daniel J, thank you for subscribing. No, I totally see it.
So that's I was trying to listen for what the defensive argument was for why this whole thing went down, and I don't hear any of that. So now I'm just lost my interest in the case, in the way the court is being tried in the courtrooms, and I'm gonna come back when the verdict comes down, or unless something new and interesting happens. Somebody gets thrown out. Somebody's madly in love with Chauvin and sending him love letters. You know, I don't know what. Somebody's asleep in the courtroom. Whatever. Then I'll retune back in. But yeah, it just seems. It just seems sort of. I don't want to say cruel to watch. One is it seems, and this is a problem with courts. I used to sit in court waiting for trials and just watch the court, kind of like the court cases happen. They will put you to sleep like NyQuil and a hammer to the head. You know what I mean? It's so hard to be interested in it, and we all should be interested in it. Because once you turn your back on like the legal system, they do all sorts of stuff, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's not it's not interesting. Is that to say? It's not interesting. It's hard to watch. So yeah, I tuned out.
Yeah, I think it's less not interesting, more hard to watch because
That video was horrible.
it's probably the worst video you probably ever seen in your life.
Yeah. It's freaking horrible. And then like he's everybody says he's in the store. Everybody says, yeah. And you could tell he was high, but he was a cool dude. He was like chilling. He was buying chips and nonsense. He was being amiable to people. He wasn't being a pain in the butt. He was a big dude. He could be a pain in the butt. Wasn't being a pain in the butt. Went about his business. You know, next thing he knows, somebody's knocking on his car window, telling him to get out. And he's under arrest for phony bills.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, we'll come back next week on this because I want to see how this progresses. That's why I've been really outside of a couple of statements, haven't really said too much on it because I want to see how the case is laid out because, like I said, we know the end result.
Yeah.
Today at the Capitol building. I don't know. It's like for me, it just seems like things are just getting worse and worse. From school shootings to the situation in Georgia with the massage parlor to Asian Americans being brutalized out there across America. So we have the incident at the Capitol building.
Right.
And it came across your screens. It came across your phone, and you're like, and I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. That's the first thing I said to myself. I said, here we go.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what to expect.
I went to the panic spot of, is this like a continuation somehow of like January 6th?
Right.
That very instant panicky position of, oh boy. But yeah, but it looks to me that it was just a guy, some desperate, crazy person, right? They were saying at the press conference, he seemed to have been alone. He's got no organization he's part of or any of that. He just seemed to be some random guy.
So tell me, Louis Farrakhan was trending today on social media.
Right, because he mentioned him. Yeah. So, yeah, the guy was all over the place. He had no philosophy, right? The guy strikes me as someone who lost it all and tried to sort of like find himself again in religion. Right.
So when you say lost it all, wait,
just
hold on a second. Hold on. When you say lost it all, what do you mean by lost it all?
He was unemployed. I mean, he had like no familial and social relationships, right?
Okay.
and he was sort of floundering in society.
Okay.
Which I hate to say, but that's a lot of people. There's a lot of
That is a lot of
alone
people.
people,
That
and they
that
have
that
no
description
romantic.
that description could fit a lot of people.
Yeah, they have no romantic connections. They have no familial connections, and they have no just uh, fraternal connections. So 3 of the 5 ways that you can love somebody, they're already out of. So I don't know, man. And they're not those people who are perpetually alone uh, and don't know anybody. I mean, these connections matter. You're an animal. I hate to break it to you, but yeah, and you're a herd animal at that. Solitude only works on some of us, and I'll raise my hand over here because I like my solitude, but that's not most people, right? And when I don't want to be solitary, you know what I do? I dive into my family. I got a big ass family, and I'm happy to have all of them. And they'll tell you if I'm going too long. They will call me up and be like, "What have you been up to? Where have you been?" So yeah, but some people, look, man, I'll tell you and I'll tell everyone listening. Solitude is a luxury. It has always been a luxury. You're supposed to be surrounded by people, right? And every now and then to wander off into the woods to kind of like connect to nature is nice, but you always come back to the people you know. It's another thing to be outcast from society, which is essentially what's going on here, right? These like armies of young men with no connection to anybody. It's a problem. At least women can make their own connection. They birth them, right? You've got somebody to follow you around until they're 18 to tell you that you did it wrong, or but whatever the case may be, these young boys, once they're about 12, they better have an interest or be looking towards something. Or if they have questions, you might want to have somebody help them find those answers. I don't know. But all the solitude, or the what is it? The bravado of I don't care, I don't need nobody. That hip hop sells all these generations of kids. When you're alone by yourself, man. I
So
was
so
once
so
told when I was like 17, lie to everybody if you have to, just don't lie to yourself. And that always stuck with me. So if I'm sitting, the idea of that statement is that if if I if I'm a con dude and I'm selling you like a con and you catch me out there, at the end of the day, I know that I'm a con dude, right? I'm not drinking my own Kool-Aid. I'm not telling you anything that I'm not. So if I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler. If I'm mild mannered and I can play a bold character, at the end of the day, I had better know that I am mild mannered, because there's going to be a situation where you're not going to be able to lie yourself out of it, right? You enter rooms freely, and that's all I can say about it. You walk into these things, you should be prepared for it, and everybody games the system somehow, but don't fall for your own nonsense, right? And it's important to know that you need people, because one day you will find, I don't know, you are just disconnected from everybody and everything.
so do
And
you think?
yeah,
Do you
I think
think?
this guy was one of those.
I'm sorry. I got to jump in here.
Yeah.
Do you think nowadays it's more easy? I think I'm answering my own question, to radicalize some of these young men over the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've known that for 12 years, right? 20 years. I mean, ISIS did that. Not ISIS. Al Qaeda did that, right? They essentially weaponized people through like the internet. So we
Right.
know it can be done. But
Well, do you think that's the case with today?
but there's a type, and if you
But do you
know
think that's
that
the
there's a
case with
type,
today?
you should attack the type, so
But do
that
you,
type doesn't exist anymore. And I don't mean like attack the people. I mean like if they're getting through to people by these lonely guys who nobody will dance with or whatever, maybe you need something for these young people to do.
but do you think that's the
So
case with today's situation?
that's what it seemed like to me. That's what it seemed. He didn't seem like a Muslim national, even though he kind of messed around with Nation of Islam, right? He just kind of like, yeah, he kind of like hovered around it. I can't even really say he was really serious with it. He was looking. He looked over here. He looked over there. You know, he put a lot of hopeful kind of stuff on his Facebook page, and then it got dire into like end time stuff and what do they call it? And the Antichrist and what's the last part of the Bible?
Revelations.
Revelation, right? So he was talking about Revelations and all this kind of like stuff in his Facebook post. That's that right there is a sign that I don't know, man. Once people start telling you what you need to be looking to in Bibles, who like a year and a half ago was telling you, send you twerking videos, it's a hard turn. You should wonder why that hard turn took place, right? Because most of us, we may change, but we take these lazy turns. It's safer that way. But making a sharp like right and just move into religion or move into I'm selling everything and I'm joining a abbey in France or whatever, you kind of go what? Yeah, and he had that, right? And it led him to do this very I don't know why he did it, but he didn't. Like I said, my whole point is that he doesn't strike me as a ISIS, Al Qaeda sympathizer person. He's a black guy. He doesn't strike me as a white national. Obviously, he's a black guy. He doesn't strike me as Black Lives Matter. Didn't mention them at all. Right? Somebody would have loved to have had him mention them. Yeah, he just seemed a guy who lost everything. As sad as that is. And as a man in this society, when you lose everything, you better have a rich uncle or a father who's a senator who can cook it for you while you do coke and sit on boards and hang out with prostitutes. Because the rest of us are just going to get our heads handed to us. I'd said this on your show before. This used to be the middle class, and the media reported on it. And now the middle class is here, and the media still reports on the middle class. It doesn't tell you about the people who fell out, who are now, homeless, because the media never tells you about the homeless, right? They tell you that the homeless is a problem. But when the last time I walked up to a homeless, like, tell me your story. And the guy was like, I bust my ass. I worked 3 jobs, and I got a divorce, and I was behind. And then, this happened and that happened. And, then I got married again. Then I got a divorce, and then she lost a job. And then, my God, she passed away on me.
Well, when it's
only
when it's used as a political football.
No, I'm sorry.
Only when it's used as a political football.
Yeah, because there are stories behind it, and they want to paint you as crazy or lazy, one of the two. And sometimes you just get caught up. And there's a pandemic. You know how many people who were in bands, who were waitresses, who were just college kids waitressing, trying to get to the next level. All that stuff has been undone, right? And a lot of those people weren't college kids. Some of those people were in their 40s working at, some of these places, and older. I mean, the America is only ever selling you the cool new shiny bauble, so you can buy it. It's always full of car commercials and Viagra commercials and all this kind of nonsense. But at the end of the day, when the people say we want universal health care, you don't hear anybody talking about it.
It's true.
Do you want like criminal justice reform? You don't hear anybody talking about it. Because the problem generates a lot of revenue too. You want decent police, you want decent education system. You don't want to be run through the coals. You want a decent medical system. That makes me a communist or a socialist or black revolutionary or, whatever it is that they will tag me as before you get the message that all I'm saying is that everybody should, be able to have their teeth checked and their blood pressure checked. It's crazy. The society is crazy. You've got the North Koreans firing missiles again, and you've got a run at the southern border, the most people in the last 15 years. So, yeah.
Soapy Soap, thank you for subscribing. That's a great name, Soapy Soap. Kind of reminds me of like Spoonie G or something like that.
Yes.
This is Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show is latenightparents.com. We're talking with True Armor, talking about some of today's headlines. We're at the top of the stream. We talked about Derek Chauvin. Then we followed up with the Capitol building.
Yeah.
So I want to talk with you.
People mention Antifa in the chat. Look, listen, Antifa is not serious. They're not serious. They're just
John. Wait, hold on. John. Oh, I'm sorry. John Ardmore chimed in. He said, "Be a friend."
Absolutely.
And then he said, "Herd." HERD, like herd immunity,
right.
But not herd, HEARD.
Yeah, like he's not listening. Yeah. Look, man, there's always a boogeyman in our society to keep you.
And then he says, or
at the throat
Antifa
of your fellow American, and that's what you got January 6th, right? It was the inevitable boiling over of this idea that you can't trust your own government and your own fellow American. And it's divide and conquer within our own borders so people can stay in power. I said this on your show too. It's like, you don't know what the American citizenry wants because you don't hear their voice. You only hear corporate voices or, stage warfare against the citizenry so people can maintain power. But every now and then, people scream at you of what they want, and they want a break from this debtor society, and they want to break from medical bills, and want to break from credit card bills and college debt. They want to break. So we'll see what happens.
MF Bicky, thank you for subscribing. I guess we'll go to. I sent you a link in the group me on a topic which is not near and dear to my heart, but something that we should have shared way back when this pandemic started. 4 quick safety tips for virtual dating. Because I think in pre-pro we were talking about, hey, people are, let's put it this way. The dating scene kind of dried up and it went totally digital.
Yeah.
It went totally digital.
Yeah.
So I guess we have some quick tips for those who are virtual dating. Quick safety tips. So if you both choose to date virtually, whether by app or meeting through a video platform, maybe even something like Haps or YouTube, or, Twitter Live. Here are some quick and easy tips to remember. First one, be judicious about personal information you share with someone new. While
exactly.
tempting,
that's Bush League right there, right?
While it can be tempting to let your guard down via
Mhm.
FaceTime or a Zoom call, you still need to be careful about what you share, as you never know how that person may intend to use it.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that
I
kind
don't
of
I don't I don't date online, so this is not for me. I'm gregarious in my nature, and I like to show up and be like, "Yo, what up? What them titties do?"
number number
And then go
two.
off to the race with a stupid conversation.
Number two, do a
Yeah,
little research on your date. If you've never spoken with or
yeah,
have met your date before, do some online research to try
yeah.
to
Go
learn
ahead, do some police databases.
to try to learn a little more about them. If you have any questions or concerns, try to find a way to bring them up over the course of your date. That's a little cringeworthy.
Yeah,
Number three, if something feels off, it's
just
okay
tell
to
them who wrote
politely
this.
walk away. If things don't
Respect.
appear to be going well while on your date, you can politely exit the date. You don't have to lie about your
You don't have to
plans.
do it politely. Just exit the date. You don't have to stay and see the whole thing out.
You don't have to lie about your plans, but you can genuinely think of something that you may need to do or take care of. And after the date, basically to go and do just that. Not all virtual dates lead to a warm, fuzzy feelings, and that's okay. Use it as a learning experience and then move on.
How many learning experience are you gonna get? It's like dating serial killers. I don't understand virtual dating. This is another complaint of mine about this society. You've made the people so fucking broke, excuse my language, so screwed up that you can't even get together when you stick a bunch of boys and girls in a room. That right there is the problem. That's the problem. And then there's trust issues, So there you go. Do boys trust girls? Do girls trust boys?
And number four, if things go well, decide on plans for the next date. On the other hand, if you both enjoyed each other's company, go ahead and decide on plans for the next date. Having a plan in place can help lessen anxiety and even heighten anticipation to see your date again virtually.
I disagree with that. Having a plan adds to the heightened tension, right? Without a plan, you just go, let's just play by ear. That's no plan. That's laid back. But once you go, I have this plan. I got to put together a plan. Oh my, got to get reservations, and I got to get a suit. Before you know it, the more you plan, the more stress it is in your life. You should plan some stuff. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes with love and life and laughing, play that by ear, man. Plan some
John
stuff, birthdays, anniversaries. Other than that,
John chimes in and says you get one serial killer for a virtual date.
yeah, it's like
That's not
1 in
funny.
4.
That's not funny. That's not funny.
Yeah, I know, right?
And he also says you need a good escape plan.
Exactly. If he's got a shovel in the trunk, do not go out with him.
So the other political football, and we have so many nowadays because everything is always, one side says this, so the other side immediately says the opposite.
Exactly.
Which is painful. And partially part of the reason I think why we have that number of 550,000 lost lives. Your take on the digital vaccine passport. Okay? So here's the deal. Wait for it. Let's just say you're available to get your vaccine, right? You took your 2 shots, or you took the 2 shots of the Moderna or the Pfizer, or the 1 shot of the Johnson & Johnson.
Right.
You are now able to go to your state's website and download the app from the Health and Human Services Department for a vaccine passport. And basically what it is, you know, on your phone, you're going to enter in, you know, your name, your social. And John, that's great that you're getting your Pfizer on 4/7. Wishing the best for you. That you can then pull it up, because, you know, the problem now is going to these events or traveling, or like, you know, hey, I want to go to a ball game. You got to show a negative COVID test.
Yeah.
You got to show that you've been fully vaccinated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The little, you know, piece of paper that they hand you that you can laminate at your local store is nice, but it's easy to lose.
Yeah.
You know,
it doesn't last long, because you can get that and then like go hang out, you know, in some place unrestricted, and then, you know what I mean?
But the big thing is the counterfeit cards.
Really?
Well, yeah, you know, everyone counterfeits everything nowadays.
I guess that's true. I didn't even think of counterfeit.
Wow,
that is sinister.
So on your phone, you can get your digital vaccine passport. Political football, because you go from state to state, and all the different governors have a different
criteria.
And, well, really, whether they're for or they're against it. John said, take a picture with your phone of your ID card, and that makes sense.
This is treated like a driver's license, right? I mean, driver's license is the one true thing, which is just generally like, if you get in New York, they're respected in Arizona. If you get in Arizona, they're respected in Montana. You know what I mean? So somewhere along the way, it's got to be treated like that, right? But how would you?
Well,
so it's a pandemic.
Here's the problem.
Just because you're clean Monday doesn't mean you'll be clean Friday, because you could have bumped into coffee discussing huggable me on Wednesday, and like, you know, and then gave you something, you know. I don't know. They're talking about kids. They just came out with one for kids, but I think France stopped using the Johnson Johnson or Moderna.
No, AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca. So one of these have problems, and then on top of that, they don't know how it's going to work with the new variants.
So
remember all that while you're dating. At this point, you know.
John says you don't need anything in Texas, but then again, you might get COVID there. You know, and it's like,
Texas we will be trying your guns from your cold dead hands, but it won't be us that killed you. It'll be COVID.
You know, it's really, really interesting that this is the next thing, because remember before it was to wear a mask or not to wear a mask.
Right.
It was, hey, I'm getting a shot. No, I'm not getting a shot.
Yeah, people kill people over this mask thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, so it's kind of, that's where we are. But I want to tell you, so I downloaded the vaccine passport, right? So when you spin it up, it's good for 30 days. So it's good for 30 days. So it gives you a 30-day expiration notice. After 30 days, you have to go in again into your
make sure that you don't have it again.
Well, your vaccine, I mean, let's put it this way. You're going to know around about when you receive the vaccine. Right. You're going to enter the dates in. It's going to give you a QR code that can be scanned by TSA, by you know, your local sports team.
So at the end of the 30 days, they test you again.
No, at the end of the 30 days, it's, you know, it has an expiration. It can't go indefinitely, so it has to have some type of expiration date.
Right. So I'm just
Kind of
wondering
like your
what
your driver's
process.
license or something
So
like
I'm
that.
just wondering what process do you go through to get the second one? Like, you know what I mean?
You just
So
go
I
through it
figured
again. You just go through it again. You
oh
enter your
wow.
name, you enter your social, you enter,
It's the whole thing like
yeah,
the
yeah. You enter that personal information that you're entering in to the app, and then you spin it up again, and it gives you another valid card. This is no different than your physical passport. This is no different than your driver's license. Your driver's license has an expiration date on it.
right.
It's just they're doing it in increments of 30 days, whereas your driver's license is 8 years or 7 years, or your passport is 10 years.
Right. Right. I mean,
So,
I understand what you're saying. I just think that if I got it, I don't see how they know that between the day I get it, which is 30 days, and the day it expires 30 days later, how diligent I've been with my COVID sanctions. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm
well,
thinking I could get hugged by my
I mean,
adorable niece who's 4, and she could give it to me, you know what I mean? And like 4 days after I got this thing. And then it's quiet for 30 days. The only,
right.
I think the best thing that they got going is this laser gun temperature check, which I finally gotten used to walking into buildings and people like drawing little white fucking guns on me. And then I have to go, you know. But I think that shows you, because they'll instantly go, ooh, your temperature is, high. It's instead of 98.6 or 7 or whatever it is.
So tell me this much: how is a person 6 feet away testing your temperature going to get you at 98.6?
They're never 6 feet away. But no, I'm just saying that.
Are they like right up on you?
No, you walk into hospitals, they take your temperature. You walk into some.
Right, but are they like right up on you?
No, they're about. Yeah, that's a good point. They're not. I mean, the it's a laser pointer.
Yeah.
So I mean, the gun is easily this far away from me.
Right.
And they're outstretched. So
how many degrees? How many degrees is that going to lose? How many degrees is that going to lose? Because your true temperature is right up, or it's right on you.
Right. Right. Well, I think it is the true temperature. It's a laser thermometer.
Okay.
It's the height of technology, right? I mean, they use the super upgraded of this same nonsense to spot people walking around in the desert with like infrared, right? So you just point it at like the temple, and it. Oh, I just know how this works. It catches. I'm not going to attempt it. I should, but yeah, I don't know how. I can't recall how it works. Laser thermometer, I guess. But yeah, you point at your temple, and I think the tech is it somehow like bounces back, and it tells you that way what your temperature is. Yeah.
So two other things.
Now I'm attempting to look it up. Yes.
No, I'm number one. I think those laser thermometers, you should have one in your home.
Yeah.
And I think
the days of everybody use the same thermometer are over.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think you should have one at home so that you check your own temperature before you even leave the house. If you know you're going into public or you're going to work,
right,
you check your own temperature.
Right, but then they have to take your word for it, and we're not a very
No,
trusting
just so
society.
that you know,
Okay.
before you leave the house.
Right.
You know, um, you want to talk about the MLB and Atlanta and the voting rights and standing on line 100 feet versus 150 feet versus 200 feet, serving water and snacks,
Look,
juice.
they're trying to make it 3 feet in schools, and I'm like, it's normally 3 feet, you idiots. No one stands a foot apart. The general talking distance is about, one person's arm length, like, which is about 3 feet, right? So I generally stand close enough to touch you, and you can say, "Don't touch me," But generally, that's about as far as human beings have conversations. 3 feet. So when they go, "Oh yeah, I think we're gonna move the 6 feet back to 3 feet in schools," at least they're saying this down here, and they're doing it in like public schools, and the kids are taking a beating. By the way, these little kids are like elementary school kids. They're not going to adhere to it.
So, are they taking a beating now? Are these public school kids? Are they actually in school, or are they doing remote school? Because they're taking a
No, they were
beating
in
coming and
school with a
going.
little plexiglass thing. They're trying to get these kids back in school. Hell or
Right,
high water, they want these kids in school.
right. But are these kids right now? Are they remote, or are they actually in school?
Oh, they were remote.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Because number one, how far do you think we've fallen as a country?
I think this may end us. I really do. I mean, you got people who are being ridiculous with the government now, and you got all these kids out of school, right? And in order to keep them on par with the Chinese who wants to eat our lunch, and mind you, the Iranians and the Russians just signed a pact against us. That should be on TV. Nobody's talking about that. So if you attack one, you attack all. It's kind of like what we have with like all these sleepy Western nations that don't do shit anymore. I don't know, man. You need these young people to do three things: to carry the flag forward, and by that I mean, we don't do it anymore, but pledge allegiance to the flag, and George Washington started the place with a bunch of his homies. We have to buy into the same lore, right? We can't all be fighting the same enemy with different agendas. You know what I mean? The American military is the American military. You can't have these subgroups inside of it. Just like these cops, you can't have these subgroups of cops inside your police departments. So, I mean, it is what it is, man.
So, a couple of things from the chat. John chimes in and says, "Laser printer show." Tony D says, "Check it through your ears like you
laser
do."
printer show. What does that mean?
Excuse me, not laser printer, laser temperature show.
Oh, okay.
Check it through your ears like they do the kids before the pandemic started. And John also chimed in and said, "Depends on the state and school as to whether they're physically there." I think, just to chime into what John said, is I think not only it depends on the school and the state, it also depends on public versus private. Private's been in.
Well, they have more
Entire way.
resources, right? I mean, I don't know a lot about what the private schools are doing, but I know they have more resources, right? They have endowments and giant bank accounts.
So my son's in private,
Right.
and he hasn't missed a day.
Wow. Yeah, maybe people should show up at the private school and see how they're doing it and duplicate it in the public schools. I think all these people who work for the state have become just incapable of doing anything, quite frankly. Right? We really need these kids in school. We need that more so than we need these men and women at work. You know what I mean? You will have a giant. It's one thing to have a hiccup in your economics, but it's a totally different monster to have a hiccup in your educational system, where when these kids get 25, they don't know how to read or don't care how to read. You're gonna have a whole different kind of crime, because you're still gonna have smart kids, right? Just smart kids who are, I guess, wild grown. I mean, remember the 80s when all these kids taught themselves the metric system to sell drugs, a gram and an eighth and an ounce and all this stuff. I still don't know what any of that stuff is. And all the people I know who can tell you I can instantly tell you their history. You know, it's like you let me peek into what you were up to in your your youth, because most people don't. You're either a math person or you're an unofficial math person. But yeah, I don't know, man.
So John chimes in and says his wife teaches private, and she's
She
been
said
there
it
the
the
whole
whole
time.
time.
She's been there the whole time, but they spent $300,000 on the air filtration. So
Yeah, see, they got deep pockets. They've got
HVAC, because
yeah,
that's what it comes down to. It
yeah,
comes down to when you're so at the start of the school year, the principal had us all on a Zoom call, and they gave us updates. Number one, the key thing is, like with John's wife, with private school, there's certain level of transparency
right,
with this process. Hey, here's what we're doing. We've got a private consultant, health consultant, that's walking us through this process. The HVAC is the key. The filtration system is the
right,
key.
right.
So either you have it and it's being maintained and managed, or you don't have it and all the doors and the windows are open.
Oh, that's the difference.
That's the difference. And public school, they're so, and my wife has been a public school teacher,
For a little
in
minute.
the Department of Ed for 25 years.
Right.
And she can tell you the bureaucrats can't, they have their heads so far up their ass
Yeah.
that they can't get out of the way.
Right. Look, you hit a certain level of that saying that you rise to the level of your incompetence is a really true thing, because you get to a point where you don't want to rock the boat anymore, and you're making enough and you're hoping that somebody promotes you, but you don't really want to, you know what I mean? And you're comfortable where you are. You'd like to be higher, but you're not rising. And I don't want to say everybody's got that, but man, you see it in government a lot. These functionaries who just, Washington D.C. is famous for it. So, whew, yeah.
So it's I don't know. I really think in the process of the next 5 years, you look at the next 10 years of these future leaders, of these students, and you will get to see how heavily they've been impacted.
Then you got to see sooner than that. This is a very tech savvy society, and it's become that way like in the last 25 years. When did I get a cell phone? I think I got my first cell phone. Oh my God, maybe 15 years ago.
Get out of here! Stop!
Yeah, when was 15 years ago? It was
15 years ago. Was 2006. Stop it!
Was it longer than that? I guess.
No.
Yeah. Well, wow. I guess maybe it was 20 years ago. 25. What was my first? I want to say it was a.
You got a cell phone in the 90s.
I don't even know what it was, but yeah, it was probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
You had a cell phone in the 90s. Stop.
Did I have so? I probably did.
Of course you did.
Forever. So, but man, wow, these years crunch. You think it's only been 10 years since you had a cell phone, you realize it's been like 25. But like the idea that,
the iPhone came out 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone came out 14 years ago. Come on.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah. Wow. So now I'm in my head about when I got a cell phone and which one was it. I forgot my train of thought on the topic. But
so you think on that. I
yeah.
want to get your comments on. Hey, Takara, how you doing? Thank you for stopping by. Hey, I want to talk about, and I'm not sure if you got to use the tool. I was talking about it a little bit earlier during the lunchtime chat. So Periscope is over.
Yeah.
Periscope is over. I had no idea. We're doing great. We're doing great. I had no idea the impact because I wasn't a Periscoper.
Neither was I.
So we don't understand the full. Hold on.
Might be. Sorry, people.
We don't understand the full impact of Periscope. You know, and I just saw over this last week, I saw the passion coming out of people, you know, because we're podcasters.
Right.
You know, we just started getting into video, but looking at the relationships and everything else that has been built with people in that Periscope community, seeing it close down, seeing the emotion, like how people are like it's the end of the world. And like, you know, at first I chuckled because I was like, are these people for real? You know, but then you start to see, you know, hey, if you've been on a certain platform or communicating with people for, you know, the last 5-6 years, platform, I could see the reason why they were kind of, you know, losing it. But we're here on this platform. I'm hoping that most of the good people come over.
Right.
You know, the trolls can stay. But I don't know. So you weren't a Periscoper, so you really can't talk about it.
I think it's age specific. It's like TikTok. Like I know what it is, but I don't do it. But I like all my nieces and nephews do it. I think it's age specific.
You know, I don't know. John, Takara, Tony, were you guys? I mean, I'm guessing you guys are Periscopers. You guys are scopers. When did you guys use Periscope? Start using Periscope? That's a question I would have for you guys.
Blowing up the zone.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yep.
Don't forget to mute the zone.
Oh no, I'm on the stream. But what time do you need me to come pick you up? All right. Bye bye.
That's the important shit right there.
Yeah, it's so 2015. Yeah, I mean it makes sense. You create a lot of relationships. Tony D said he was doing it for a little bit. Totally makes sense. I never went live on Periscope though. I would join lives and stay in the comments. Oh, okay. So, Takara, you didn't.
So don't they call that lurking? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, if you in the comments.
Takara, I hope no comments back. But
no,
that is I guess that's permissible. I always thought that was a bad thing.
No, if you're commenting, is one thing. If you're just in the background, like just gawking.
Oh. Okay, yeah. Okay, I guess that makes sense. If you're talking in the comments, all right. That makes sense.
You know, but
everybody's got different etiquette. You don't want to offend like when you join.
No, you go you join the stream, you say hello.
Yeah.
And you chime in and you provide some of your emphasis on it, or you don't.
Right.
But you at least announce yourself like, hey.
Chat, and that's the new rule of things.
You know, I was going to get into Major League Baseball moving the All-Star game. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, and we had like two other topics,
right? Well, they moved the All-Star game because you want to fill us in?
Oh, because of the draconian voting rights bill that's being put forth in Georgia.
It's lurking if I never announced I was there. Okay, that's fair. Right. So here's the problem with your Georgia voting rights bill. Everybody's got a problem with it. People in your state have a problem with it, and people outside your state are now, I guess, this would be known as economic sanctions, right? Internal economic sanctions. This is the problem. The people who did it should somehow be removed, right? Because they'll just try it again later. So Major League Baseball did a good thing by deciding to move their All-Star game. They've taken a stand, right? Silence is complicity. So they've taken a stance. Because voting rights is a thing, and it's not a black or white thing. It's voting rights. It's
voting rights.
Yeah,
voting rights.
And they're playing these games to stay in power, and they normally wouldn't be. And that goes back to what I said earlier about you don't know what the real face of America is because people cook the books on everything and fight wars that the population doesn't want fought. And by that wars, I mean perpetual political battles, right? So if you elected me to head, dog catcher, and I was able to catch all the dogs.
What I want to do is pause. What I want to do is pause because I gotta go pick my daughter up from work.
Oh, yeah. Let's wrap this.
So we're gonna wrap this.
Yeah, family's important.
If you're gonna be up, I'll be back.
Be up.
Huh?
I will definitely be up. I'm still troubleshooting my system.
All right, so we'll restart this again in about 30 minutes.
Yep.
You gotta get out there, John.
Yeah, put that mask on.
Ready.
Put that mask on.
I've been vaccinated, John, but my daughter hasn't.
Oh, right.
I think as of next week she can get vaccinated.
Right.
So it's like my household is like half and half. My wife has been vaccinated, I've been vaccinated, but the kids haven't been.
Right.
And the kids like to go to the mall and they like to run around and they like to wear their mask as chin straps. And I'm like,
yeah.
All right, so I'll be back in about 30 minutes. We can restart this in about 30 minutes.
See you.
All right, thanks to everyone that's
thanks for everyone in the chat.
We really appreciate it, and we'll be back.